That beep seems to tell the register what this product costs. But the price usually is not inside the barcode at all. So what are those lines actually saying? And before stores had them, how did anyone keep thousands of products, prices, and purchases straight? By the end of this story, you will know what a barcode really contains, why the first design looked nothing like the one we use today, and how one agreement quietly reorganized nearly everything we buy. Before barcodes, the price usually had to be placed directly on the product. It might appear on a paper sticker, a stamped label, or a tag tied to the item. In some stores, an employee wrote the price by hand. At checkout, the cashier found that mark and entered the amount into the register. For a small shop with a limited number of products, that system could work remarkably well. But behind the checkout counter was a much larger manual system. Stores relied on invoices, stock cards, order forms, sales records, self-checks, and physical inventory counts. Employees had to compare what arrived, what remained on shelves, and what the registers said had been sold. Now, imagine that the price of one product changes. Every affected package may need a new sticker. The price on the shelf must agree with the price on the package. Cashiers must know which price is correct. New deliveries must be marked to match. And any old stock still sitting in the store has to be found and changed. For one product, that's inconvenient. For thousands of products, it becomes a permanent struggle to keep the store's information synchronized. Different package sizes made the problem even harder. A small can and a family-size can might look nearly identical. Two brands might sell the same type of product in similar packaging. Or one variation could be on sale while another was not. The real problem was not finding the price of one can. It was making certain that every part of the store agreed about which can it was. Automatic checkout promised a solution. But before a machine could retrieve the correct price, it had to answer a more fundamental question. Which product is this? That question would take more than 2 decades to solve. In 1949, Norman Joseph Woodland and Bernard Silver filed a patent for what they called a classifying apparatus and method. Their idea was to attach a pattern to an object so that a photosensitive machine could identify it automatically. The patent included several possible patterns. Some used parallel lines, but the most recognizable design looked like a target with a series of concentric circles. It became known as the bullseye barcode. And the circles solved an important problem. A cashier might move a package across a scanner at almost any angle. A circular symbol could be crossed from many directions without requiring the package to be aligned precisely. On paper, it appeared to be an elegant solution. His patent was granted in 1952, but no supermarket rushed to install it. The inventors had created a readable symbol. They had not created the complete system needed to make that symbol useful. Scanners at the time were expensive and experimental. Computers were enormous, limited, and far beyond the reach of an ordinary checkout lane. The equipment needed to read the code could cost more than the problem it was supposed to solve. The symbol also had to survive the physical reality of retail. It had to be printed rapidly and inexpensively on cardboard, paper, metal cans, plastic wrappers, and adhesive labels. It had to remain readable when a package was bent, scratched, or handled. It had to tolerate imperfect printing. And it had to work quickly enough that scanning a product was easier than just reading its price. The barcode had been invented. The barcode system had not. There was another obstacle that would prove even more difficult. A scanner could be designed to read almost any agreed-upon pattern. But what would happen if every manufacturer, retailer, and equipment company chose a different one? A barcode used by only one business might improve one operation. A barcode used across an entire industry could transform retail. That required competitors to agree. By the late 1960s, supermarkets were becoming larger. They carried more products, processed more transactions, and faced rising labor costs. Manual checkout and inventory control were becoming increasingly difficult to manage. The grocery industry began searching for an automated identification system. But it did not merely need a good barcode. It needed one universal barcode. Manufacturers had to be able to print it. Equipment companies had to be able to scan it. Retailers had to be able to connect it to their own computer systems. And every participant had to interpret its numbers in the same way. Several companies submitted competing designs. RCA proposed a circular bullseye symbol descended from the earlier woodland and silver concept. Its advantage was immediately visible. The scanner could approach the circle from different directions. IBM submitted a rectangular symbol made from vertical bars. If you had been asked to choose between them, the circle might have seemed like the more advanced design. It was symmetrical. It didn't appear to care which way the package was facing. And it had already been built around the problem of scanning from different directions. But a barcode doesn't live as a perfect laboratory drawing. It has to survive a printing press. When ink spreads while printing a circular symbol, the circles can expand in several directions. Their relationships change, and the symbol may become more difficult to interpret reliably. With IBM design, ordinary ink spread primarily changes the width of the vertical bars. Their height provides a larger target for the scanner, while the horizontal pattern still carries the identifying information. That made the linear symbol more tolerant of the imperfections produced by high-speed commercial printing. The straight lines also offered room for another protection. The code could include a check digit, calculated from the other digits to help the system detect many common reading errors. IBM engineer George Laurer and his team refined this design into the symbol that became the Universal Product Code. In 1973, the grocery industry selected the linear UPC proposal. The bullseye had lost. But the winning design was still only the visible layer of a much larger system. The bars allowed a machine to read the code. The number gave a product a unique identity. The shared rules told every participating business how that identity should be structured. The lines made scanning possible. The number made identification possible. The agreement made the entire system valuable. Choosing a symbol in 1973 did not mean that supermarkets could begin scanning products the next morning. Someone still had to administer the numbering system. Manufacturers had to receive product identifiers and redesign their packaging to include the symbols. Scanner companies had to build compatible equipment. Retailers had to install computers and create product records. Most importantly, the number printed on each package had to match the correct record inside the store's system. If any one of those connections failed, the barcode was meaningless. A perfectly printed symbol linked to the wrong product record could produce the wrong description or the wrong price. A correctly assigned number could not help if the scanner misread it. A working scanner could not retrieve anything if the store had never entered the product into its database. The system depended on every layer agreeing with every other layer. That was the real test. Could a symbol printed by one company be scanned by equipment from another and connected to information maintained by a third? On June 26, 1974, those separate pieces came together at a Marsh supermarket in Troy, Ohio. Cashier Sharon Buchanan passed a multi-pack of Wrigley's Juicy Fruit gum across the scanner. Shopper Clyde Dawson had selected the gum because he wanted the first scanned product to be something memorable. The scanner read the symbol. The system identified the product. The register retrieved the information needed to complete the sale. The gum became famous as the first retail product scanned using the new UPC system. But the historic achievement was not really the gum. It was not even the beep. It was that businesses that did not share the same building, equipment, or computer had described one product in a language each part of the system could understand. The symbol matched a number. The number matched a product record. The product record supplied the information the store needed. For the first time, the chain was complete. That brings us back to the mystery at the beginning. What is actually inside a typical UPC barcode? Usually, it doesn't include the store's selling price. The barcode represents a product identifier. When the scanner reads the code, the checkout system uses that identifier to locate the corresponding record in the retailer's database. That record can contain the product's description, its current price, its tax category, and other information the retailer needs. The distinction is easy to prove. The same package can carry the same barcode in two different stores and sell for two different prices. If the price were encoded permanently in the lines, that would not be possible. Instead, each retailer associates its own price with the shared product identifier. When the price changes, the manufacturer doesn't have to redesign the package. The barcode doesn't need to change. The store simply changes the price in its own system. At the next scan, the same identifier retrieves the new amount. This was one of the UPC's most important achievements. It separated what a product is from what any particular store changes for it. The barcode supplies the identity. The retailer supplies the price. And because the identity remains stable, thousands of stores can recognize the same product while managing their own prices independently. The beep at the register was the most visible result of the new system. But identification created something even more valuable. Each successful scan could also produce a record of what had been sold. Retailers could now compare sales with inventory. They could see which products were moving quickly and which were remaining on the shelves. They could improve reordering and reduce the number of manual stock checks. They could distinguish between package sizes, colors, flavors, and variations that might otherwise look almost identical. Manufacturers, distributors, warehouses, and retailers could all organize information around consistent product identifiers. The barcode did not automate the modern supply chain by itself, but it gave all of those larger systems a common way to recognize the same item. Adoption was gradual. Manufacturers had to change packaging. Stores had to invest in scanners and computers. The benefits were limited while only a small number of products carried the code. But every new participant made the standard more useful to everyone already using it. That's one of the unusual properties of a shared system. A barcode recognized by one company is a tool. A barcode recognized across an entire industry becomes infrastructure. If you enjoy discovering the systems hiding inside ordinary life, subscribe to The Hidden Standard. Each episode investigates an agreement, measurement, or identification system that most of us use every day without ever seeing the structure behind it. And this particular standard is about to change again. The traditional UPC was designed to answer one essential question: which product is this? For decades, that was enough to transform checkout and inventory control. But modern retailers, manufacturers, regulators, and consumers increasingly want more information. Which batch did this item come from? When was it produced? When does it expire? Is it affected by a recall? Where can a customer find verified instructions, ingredients, or sourcing information? A traditional linear UPC has limited capacity. Two-dimensional barcodes, including standards-based QR codes and data matrix symbols, can carry or connect to much richer information. They may include a product identifier along with a lot number, serial number, variation, production date, or expiration date. Some can also connect the physical package to current information online. The retail industry's Sunrise 2027 initiative is intended to help point-of-sale systems become capable of reading and processing these newer two-dimensional codes. But 2027 is not the date when every traditional UPC suddenly disappears. It's a transition milestone. For a time, familiar linear barcodes and newer two-dimensional symbols may appear together while retailers, manufacturers, and equipment providers update their systems. The symbol is changing. The fundamental problem is not. A more powerful barcode is useful only if the businesses printing it, scanning it, and interpreting its information agree about what it means. That was true when the grocery industry chose between a bullseye and a rectangle, and it remains true as the industry moves from vertical lines toward two-dimensional symbols. The technology can carry more information. The standard makes that information usable. A barcode doesn't know what a product costs. Its greater achievement is more fundamental. It gives that product an identity that manufacturers, stores, computers, and supply chains can share. The beep lasts a fraction of a second. The agreement behind it took decades. And that is the hidden standard behind almost everything we buy.